Welcome to Typecasting, where we're typing our favorite fictional characters on the Enneagram and taking on pop culture by the numbers.
Dun, 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 dun. That's not even how it goes. You know, last week I wanted to get the rights to the song.
Half Schitt's Creek
and I couldn't.
and half The Good Place.
That's a good point. They're both like what? Like 4 notes?
And they're like a trombone, I think.
Yeah. So, close enough. You guys couldn't even tell the difference, could you? You thought we just got the rights to the song from NBC.
I loved it. Remember when we did Schitt's Creek? That was fun. Oh my gosh. Well, that is your host, Lucas Grannon, and I am 100% sure in a million lifetimes we would have found each other.
And that is your co-host, Marjana Tumatua, who I would want to be my soulmate if we were trapped in the good place.
Heart. I love that. That was so fun. Well, I am so excited to talk about The Good Place again this week.
Me too. I talked about it last week, but these were the characters as I was trying to type like Michael and Janet and Jason. I was like, okay, these ones I have to think about, but Eleanor and Chidi and Tahani, I think I have nailed to a T.
The other thing is, though, about this is I think it might be short because they are so nailable to a T.
Potentially. There's one character specifically this week that I thought I knew, and then I went somewhere else with it. And I think that if we are both, you know, when we were both very committed to our idea, and then like, if we do disagree, we'll see.
We'll see.
All
right. Well, let's get started. Lucas, who's our first character?
Okay. The love of my life, Miss Kristen Bell. I've told you about this, but I'm currently, and it's weird because I'm watching it all out of order, but I've been kind of going through Kristen Bell's career through TV. And her first big break was Veronica Mars back in like 2006. But absolutely. I did not watch it until after I saw all of The Good Place. And I still have not finished it because there are 2 books that take place in between season 3 and season 4. And I've not had enough time to finish reading the books. So eventually we will get through it. But
so it goes from like TV show to book, back to TV show.
Oh, girl.
To movie.
It's even more than that. It got canceled in like 2007. 7 years later, it got a movie funded by the fans. Then after that, the showrunner and like writer director wrote 2 novels that like are canon to the story. Then in like 2018, Hulu picked it up for season 4.
Oh my goodness.
So there is a movie and 2 books in between season 3 and season 4, but I have not finished the books yet. So we'll get there. Are we going to do it on Typecasting? Probably not, because Marjana Tu's never seen it. What we are going to do is talk about a different Kristen Bell character who I absolutely love. I said this last week, that my main draw to the show, Miss Eleanor Shellstrop. She is a self-described Arizona dirtbag. I think they call it the Florida of the Southwest. I love how like the show.
Poor Ian.
Yeah, sorry, Ian. I think like I love how the show
honestly,
has very.
Everything we've talked about with Ian proves our point.
And I love how the show has such like specific vendettas against like Jacksonville, Florida, and Arizona. Like,
no, I was wondering, are like the writers from there, or
who
do they
hurt
just
Mike Schur, and like why did he?
Because Mike Schur also wrote Superstore, and they have a lot.
Really?
He's a producer. He might not have written it. He's definitely a producer. And they have a lot of snack talk on Florida in that show as well. So I'm like, okay, you better be from there if you're being that mean.
Right. But Eleanor, she loves shrimp. It's her favorite food in the world. Did you know that Kristen Bell is vegetarian, and so they had to make fake shrimp for her to eat because she eats so much shrimp throughout the show?
Oh my gosh, I did not know that. I thought you were going to say she was allergic, which I think would be just as fun of an issue. I love her so much.
And yes, and we see Eleanor, she is our protagonist. Like, she comes in, she wakes up in the good place. She's been barreled into by some shopping carts and hit by a truck, and that's how she wakes up in the good place. She knows right away.
Have such extreme deaths.
Seriously. She knows right away that she does not belong. She's like, this is not my life. These are not my memories that you are showing me right now. There was a mistake. There was a different Eleanor Shellstrop that was supposed to come here. So she finds out her soulmate is this ethical professor, and she's like, dude, you have to help me, teach me how to be a good person, help me hide. And she spends a lot of season 1 trying to learn how to become a good person, but she really struggles with it because I think Eleanor's main character flaw is her selfishness. Like, she does not know how to look out for anyone but herself. We find out from a young age that she was abandoned by her mom, and that, like, or maybe not even abandoned, but emotionally abandoned. And she had to grow up really fast, and she's been very self-sufficient for a very long time. And she only looks out for number one at the expense of everyone else. So we see her, I think, go on a really beautiful journey throughout the show, like with Chidi and with herself. Like, she always finds out that this is the bad place, and then she is the one who, like, takes Michael by the hand and teaches him what it's like to be a good person. And, like, as she teaches him, she learns herself, and she opens herself up and is vulnerable for the first time. And it's such a sweet story. I absolutely love Eleanor, and I love where she kind of finishes the show. She becomes a real, like, trailblazer, and she helps upend the whole system in a really cool way. So love her. I don't want to ramble too much because I want to know, I think I know what you're going to say, and I think we're going to disagree. So she's the one that I'm most worried about. So
Really? Okay, well, upon first watching it, so just looking back and thinking back to, like, who she was in the first season, I was like, this girl is a 7 through and through. She's a little reckless with her time and expenditures, and she just, like, wants to go on adventures and does things. Then upon, like, and, like, that was me just thinking about it. Watching the show is like, this girl is such an 8. She shakes up the room that she's in. She challenges authority. She knows what is up. And she, even though she has a blurred sense of what is right, really fights for what she thinks is correct. So I think that's, like, a very interesting, complicated person. I will say, like, I had a hard time with season 1, Eleanor. She's kind of like, we're opposites. I'm much more of a Tahani. We'll get there, like, in general. Tahani. Tahini. What's Tahini? Is that a place? I'm much more of a Tahani.
It's like it's not a peanut butter, but it's, like, similar to a peanut butter, I think. It's like an ingredient. It's a food.
I thought, yes. Okay. So sorry about that, everyone. I do know what I'm talking about. And so I think that she is probably an 8. And I think we see that throughout as she challenges, like, where she actually is. She goes straight up to Michael and is kind of like, you know what? This is what I think is going to happen.
So Chidi and I are going to go to the bad place.
What?
Trust me. I've got this. That's our decision. Let's hit it.
Well, what about real Eleanor?
No, it's me and Chidi. Call the train.
Point of order. I don't accept this offer. The real mistakes were Jason and Eleanor.
Ga. You said any two of us. It's me and Chidi. Let's do it to it.
Michael! I just found an obscure precedent in the rules that might just save everyone.
Buzz off, Bomba John. Don't need it.
Okay.
Ready when you are, boss.
Eleanor, what's going on?
It took me a while to figure it out. But just now, as we were all fighting and yelling at each other and each one of us demanding we should go to the bad place, I thought to myself, man, this is torture. And then it hit me. They're never gonna call a train to take us to the bad place. They can't. Because we're already here. This is the bad place.
So I think she's an 8. What do you think, Lucas?
Okay, I thought you were going to think that she was an 8. And I also, like, on first pass was around that 8-7 area. Like, I think that does make sense. I'll be honest, maybe I kind of cheated, but there was this really helpful video on YouTube that was, like, Eleanor's character journey, and they kind of, like, hit the main points of, like, her journey across the show and highlighted, and the things that stood out to me, I think she has some really big feelings of, like, worthlessness and not feeling, and this is her whole thing, especially at the beginning, and not feeling like she belongs. I don't think she's ever really felt like she belonged. And that's why she's so afraid of, like, opening up to other people. She also carries around this secret for a big portion of the first part of the show. And as we move through her, like I said, I think her fatal flaw is her selfishness and her self-absorption.
Yeah, when you said that, I was like, he's gonna think she's a 4.
And I do think she's a 4. And so the reason is I was watching the video and I was like, oh, wait, is she a 4? And so what I did is I went to the Enneagram Institute, shameless plug, and I went to the list of the levels of development. And I went down to the unhealthy levels because I was like, okay, Eleanor, we know we're not going to probably find you at the top of the scale of healthy development.
Yeah.
And looking specifically like at level 7 and level 8, Level 7 says, when dreams fail, becoming self-inhibiting and angry at self, depressed and alienated from self and others, blocked and emotionally paralyzed. Then 8, even a step down, is like tormented by delusional self-contempt, self-reproaches, self-hatred. Everything is a source of torment. Blaming others, they drive away anyone who tries to help them. And the way I think that she knows right away, she like does not have a high view of herself, but she's also like so self-absorbed. She's like, I'm not a good person, but I'm also the most important person. Like she really struggles to not be the most important thing in her life. I also think that as she grows, she's a reluctant leader in a way that I think 8s feel pretty comfortable in power. I think that Eleanor doesn't feel super comfortable, like actually like with the responsibility of these other people on her shoulders. I think she feels more reluctant in that space. So that's, I think there's an argument for the 8, but the 4, it did come to me kind of last minute. And then I was like, wait, I think she may just be a really unhealthy 4 when we first meet her.
I think you're right. I like want to fight you, but really what I have is just sometimes you just have that gut feeling and I'm trying to just let that go because I'm like, if you don't have evidence, textual evidence, maybe you should quit. And so you're right, I'm wrong. I think she is a 4 and I think because I think I kind of said earlier, she's one of my like least, she's hard for me to relate, like not hard for me to relate to, but I find myself upset with her, and I feel like that's like it's easier to be upset with people you're similar to. You know what I mean? Like she has situations I feel like I could maybe find myself in, and I would have made the opposite decision, which is very 4 of her. Oh my gosh, and she does feel like she's always on the outs. And instead of like embracing that, she like kind of makes it her issue and tries to like solve it, which I think is like very 4.
I also think.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about like, especially early season 1, like when she first meets Tahani, like, and Michael does this on purpose, but like he juxtaposes them because he knows Eleanor will be jealous of Tahani, and like the like quote unquote like sin of the type 4 is envy and like comparison and always seeing yourself as like other and different and less than the people around you. And I think she really struggles with that. Like she has those feelings of like worthlessness and of like envy that she has to work through like over the course of the show too.
Absolutely. You're so smart.
Like I said, I am giving full credit to the Good Place YouTube channel for that helpful little like character journey, because I don't think I would have gotten there.
I wish you sent those to me. Done some homework.
Sorry. Shared my notes, shared my homework.
Well, I'm curious though what you think her wing is, because I was really sure about the 8 wing 7. So I'm curious where you think her wing is, because I don't really see either of them with her. So what's your argument there?
I don't know that I feel a strong wing in either direction, but it's almost one of those like process of elimination things. I think that she is a 3 more than she's a 5. Like I don't think she has the natural curiosity of a 5. She does not like to get bogged down. She does, but a lot of that I think, I think my mind is in the early seasons. A lot of that is like for survival and like out of necessity. She's like, I need to figure this out, because otherwise I will go to the bad place. Like, I don't think in her life, I think one of the first scenes we see of her while alive, she's walking and this guy is like, do you have a minute to talk about the environment? And she's like, do you have a minute to eat my farts? And then she like throws her cup on the ground. Like, I don't think she has like a natural curiosity maybe that a type 5 would give her. But maybe, I mean, she has that melancholy, but like I said too, I think she has that like image consciousness. She wants everybody to think that she's great, even though she doesn't want to put in any work to like be nice to the people around her.
That is very true, because I will say one thing that I like noticed is for like who she claims to be, which is like this Arizona dirtbag. She doesn't really dress like one or like look like one. Does that make sense? Like that? Maybe this is me being so stereotypical, but I was like, she dresses like Mindy Kaling. Like she wears lots of colors, even when she's like herself in the later seasons. I'm like, wait, that doesn't really make sense to me. So I do see maybe that image consciousness of being like a 3. So like that is like a really weird segue, but like I think that might be why. Yeah.
Right. Like I said, I don't think it's a strong wing, but I do think she's got that, like you said, like that, like energy to her, and like she's gonna like drop everything and go to a concert, or like steal her friends' tickets to a concert because she wants to go. Like I don't know. There's a part of her I think that enjoys like
that. It's a 7 because she also might be an A7. But I like,
and that's the thing. You called me very smart and that you were wrong, but there are no wrong answers here. Like,
yeah, exactly. I think like that's why I'm like, I just have this weird feeling she's an 8-7, but like you said, like that is so true to who her character is that she is a 4. So I love it. I think you're smart because I think it's not the first thing I would have thought of, but I also think it was very convincing. So I'm okay with the 4 being 3, but I would be curious. Maybe we'll do a little poll, like if people think, if they think she's an 8. Or if they're just doing wrong. We've gotten some slander lately. We were like, we're just wrong. Which I love. I think it's super fun. Alrighty. Well, who is next, Lucas? I think it's my turn to introduce our next character.
It is. Tell us who we're going to be talking about next.
Chidi. I love Chidi. Chidi Anagonye. And I love him. Again, I know I asked it like a question, but I'm like, I'm Nigerian. Like, usually I know kind of what's going on. But again, I don't know everything. So he is amazing.
Eleanor, I have spent my entire life in pursuit of fundamental truths about the universe. And now we can actually learn about them together as soulmates. It's overwhelming.
Chidi, you'll stand by my side no matter what, right?
Of course I will.
Promise me. Say, I promise I will never betray you for any reason.
Eleanor, I swear that I will never say or do anything to cause you any harm.
Good. Because those aren't my memories. I wasn't a lawyer. I never went to the Ukraine. I hate clowns. There's been a big mistake. I'm not supposed to be here.
Wait, what?
Chidi is such an interesting character. And one of the things I love about The Good Place, and we kind of touched on it last week, is like, it is so silly. And I honestly think it's like so different than most shows that we have out right now. And like all of the characters are very flawed, and like, that's kind of the point. But Chidi is just this amazing man who's a professor of ethics and philosophy. And he's trying to teach Eleanor pretty much throughout the series in different ways and situations how to be a good person, what a good person is, by going through all of these philosophers and just chatting through them with Eleanor so she can kind of understand what is good. And kind of like, as we touched on just a second ago, it's like Eleanor ends up being a teacher also to Michael. So it kind of has this chain reaction. But the thing about Chidi is that he is incredibly anxious. I honestly don't even know if he would be diagnosed with anxiety or if he just like is that way on purpose. And like, that's kind of the reason, like it looks on his surface, he's a really great person. He's always considering others. But in actuality, he's like so in his own head. He kind of ruins the fun for everyone in his life. Chidi is, for me, so lovable. He is Eleanor's soulmate. And it was so funny because Michael set them up to ruin each other and to be miserable. But in all of their millions of lifetimes, they find each other. And I love that.
And they make each other better.
I know. They really do. They really do. And I love that about their relationship and about the show. And Chidi is like, I just like knew as soon as I saw the show that he was going to be my favorite character, like episode 1, and he does not fail. Like I love him throughout. So Lucas, so curious, what is the Enneagram type?
Okay. I am going to apologize because I thought like, oh, this was going to be easy, quick, fast, funky, fresh. And then as you were talking and as I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, I think I know what you are going to say, but I would just like to put a word in for the type 1. Because I don't think there's anything that bothers Chidi more than whether or not he is a good person. Like, he is super anxious, but that anxiety and like that indecisiveness that we see, he does not know how to make a choice. Like, that is his like fatal flaw. And he always gets so worked up is because he has this like higher moral code of ethics that he has to live to, but he will literally question every single decision he ever makes to make sure that it lives up to the standard that he sets for himself. Side note, have not drank almond milk since watching this TV show because this Chidi was like, I'm in the bad place because I drank almond milk. It's bad for the environment. And I took that to heart and I have not drank almond milk since. I am an oat milk gal through and through, thanks to Chidi Anagonye. I just have to give like a shout out to that. But I also think an argument can be made for the number I think you're going to say. But actually, as you were introducing him, I was like, wait, is he a type 1?
Interesting.
Like right and wrong, inner critic, black and white, just putting that out there.
Honestly, that is a really, really good analysis. I had not thought of it. And there is something about ones, and I think my lifelong best friend, who I've literally been through the womb with, is a 1. That like I just can feel when someone's a 1 a lot of the time. And that's like part of where I was talking about the 8 earlier was like, I don't even know if I'm right. I just like have such a strong feeling sometimes. Chidi does give up that vibe that I just am like this inexplicable oneness. And I do think that inner code of ethics and just like never being enough in that inner critic is very true to him. I was actually going to say, which I thought you'd think I think he was a 6 maybe, but I actually think he was a 2 because he literally, so I did not write down the number, but in early season 3, when they're trying to figure out what they're going to do about Chidi, is they're like, well, we ran all the simulations. There's, 800,652 versions of this story. And Chidi helps Eleanor in all but 2. And I was like, ugh. And like that is how he shows his love, is like serving the people around him. Yeah. And like all he wants is to leave the world better than how he found it. And I think that is so evident and indicative of the type 2. And so I was thinking he was a 2. So I think we're actually like in the same realm where he's like, he wants to be good and to contribute better, but he like thinks of the whole world as his responsibility. And so he's just like a very unhealthy type 2. And I do think he and Janet have a very interesting relationship where he's like boundaries, but he's speaking to himself. And so I this is so interesting because I thought I assumed one of us was going to say 6. But he also isn't that loyal. Like you see, like he has very different relationships in all of his worlds, where I think a lot of the people like it kind of is centered around the same thing. And I think he has a hard time keeping some of those things. He's just anxious. So I would go with the 2, but I do like your read on the 1. So I think it's either a 1-wing 2 or a 2-wing 1.
I want to say, I didn't say anything about the 6 because I thought you were going to type him as a 6. I do like the idea, like I could see something between the 6 and the 5 because he is so in his head, like I thought you were going to say 6-wing 5. I was going to be comfortable with something in that area because like he gets so trapped in his head sometimes in the way that I think sometimes we see type 5s. However, that is really fascinating. I do like the idea of the 2. I don't know that I would have thought of it, but when you said that, I'm like, yes, he wants to help people. It kind of reminds me when we typed Michael Scott as a 2, like he wants to help people. He thinks he's helping people, but he's not. Like it's what he wants to do. But and so I wonder if that though is his core motivation. I would say if we were trying to decide between the 2, when I look at the core motivations and needs, like the 2 needs to be loved and needed, the 1 needs to be right and live the right way. And I do think that he would be a 1-wing 2 more so than a 2-wing 1. But I love like what you have to say about the 2. What do you think?
Absolutely. I agree. And I think, again, like you have the evidence for it. I have the feeling. So I think I'm going to go with, I think a 1-wing 2 makes a lot of sense. And I'm happy to assign that to him.
This episode has gone nowhere that I thought it was going to. And I love how we were like, oh, the next 3 are going to be so easy. But, and they've been, it's fun, but it was not as obvious as I thought it was going to be.
Well, Tahani, I am like sure about, and I will fight to the death for her.
Yes, me too. Oh no. I really hope we're on the same page with Tahani.
Oh my gosh, I keep saying Tahini instead of Tahani. Tahani, tell me about her.
Yes, Tahani Al-Jamil. I love her. She spends her life before coming to the good place constantly in the shadow of her sister Kamilah. And she and Kamilah, we get to see flashbacks of their childhoods, are in constant competition for the affection of their parents. And Tahani always feels second best to Kamilah. And she grows up to...
I think one of the things you could say about Kamilah is who I want. All right. That's what I think the parents would say, is that I feel like actually it's I have a little like a royal cinematic universe like connection, I think, to Kamilah and Tahani in The Good Place and the real world, The Crown, maybe, perhaps.
Oh.
Sorry to
I was
interrupt
so
you.
lost. I'm not a Crown person.
Wait, are you not on The Crown TikTok?
No.
I literally see, I am not exaggerating, 50 of these a day. So if that is going to be weird for our listeners, I apologize. Literally,
I was so scared. You were like, Kamilah. I was like, what is happening?
Oh my gosh, everyone, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am so embarrassed, but I am not even kidding. It's not even about, it's a trend on TikTok right now.
Okay.
It's not even really about Kamilah, but it's the sound from The Crown.
Gotcha.
Where he goes, where like the man is like, Kamilah is who I want. And she goes, not the mother of your children. He says, don't bring the boys into this. And it's like whatever other thing you love.
Prince Charles and Di.
Yeah, and then
Camilla
but like
Bowles.
it's not but the trend has gone so far beyond The Crown that I assumed it had stumbled on your For You page. And then
I'm surprised it hasn't.
I'm very surprised. I'm not exaggerating when I say I probably see 20 of them a day.
Because
like sometimes it's just in a row.
Our For You pages are very similar.
Very similar.
Like I feel like we send each other TikToks that we have already seen all the time.
Yes, and then it goes,
wow.
and then he goes, and then she goes, all right, not the woman you married. And then he goes, I refuse to be concerned for this miscellaneous any longer. And it's like so ridiculous. But like, it's funny because it's her name. But if you haven't seen it, that's probably just awkward. But hopefully you had, and now I can give you context to why I interrupted Lucas. If not, I'm so sorry, XOXO.
No, you're right, though. I mean, her parents do pick Kamilah over Tahani the whole time. And so she grows up working as hard as she can, being like as successful as she possibly can. She raises all this money and she thinks that she's a good person. That's what I find super fascinating about this show is that Eleanor and Jason find each other and they both know they don't belong. But Chidi and Tahani spend their entire time in the good place thinking that they do belong. And Tahani thinks that I did good in the world. Like I was philanthropic. I tried my best and I like was raising all this money. But the show talks about like everything she did was for herself and like was just to try and prove to herself and to her family and to the world that she was worth something. I'm going to stop there because I almost gave the number away. But we also see, I do want to say before we get into that, that was her in life. In death, in the good place, she really grows. She and Jason, who are told they're soulmates, they discover that they're not. And I actually love the way that we see Tahani grow and be independent as the show goes on. And just like discovers her own identity because she was always like defining herself in comparison to other people. And I think that she finally like learns who Tahani is by the time the show ends. And I really, really love that journey for her. She, again, a veiled spoiler for those cool kids who have seen the series finale. She blazes a whole new path. She goes where no one has ever been before by the end of the series. And I love her for it. I love me some Tahani. What is her type? I'm not even going to ask you what you think because I know if we're not on the same page, I'm going to have to quit the podcast.
I think we're on the same page. I will say, I did feel like your description was more an argument for your case than it was about Tahani. Because I'm like, Tahani is a fun and fabulous and loves to brag about knowing Taylor Swift. And
yes, the name
I feel
drops.
like we talked
Iconic.
a lot. The name drops, the outfits of like being like, she looks like she's going to British tea like every single day. And she's just her perfection, her good place, her house is a mansion with like marble staircases, and she has all the parties and she loves to host. And the name drops are like iconic to who she is. Additionally, I think she's a 4. She's a 4 with a strong wing 3. I will give you a 3 wing 4 if that's really what you wanted. But she is a 4 wing 3. Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those, maybe I'm just being too nice tonight. I'm giving you all of them. But like, I'm just saying, she's a 4. Wait, do you not agree? Your face.
She is, I really thought she was a 3. Her whole point, this is what I almost said and didn't, is that she wants to appear to be successful. Like, she does not care about being successful. She cares about other people knowing that she's successful. And she cares about like other people, like her entire sense of self-worth is completely external. And she has to like learn to define that for herself. But like, I think she's a type 3. I can see a 4 wing 3. And it's funny because I could even hear the 4 in what I was saying. And I was like, wait, I definitely wrote her as a 3. But
yeah,
I thought she was a 3. As I gave my intro, I thought she was a 3. But the 4 started creeping in actually as I was talking about her. So I could see the 4 wing 3. Tell me a little bit more about that if you can.
Well, I think like the main thing for me was the fact that she is very much so never felt like she belonged. She's envious, and that's like the number one sin of the 4. It's that they're envious of her sister, and she constantly feels like she needs to prove who she is. I do think that's like a 3. Like I do see that. Like that's where I'm like I could see a 3 wing 4. Because she needs to prove who she is, but I think it's like, woe is me, melodramatic in her feelings. I feel like she might even present a lot more like we do as 4s. We're like on top of it, very into pop culture, like knowing what's going on to belong. So I kind of thought that's where I got the 4. And I just thought her whole childhood and her arc was very 4 of like, it's not just about my sister, it's about me. And like, I'm here too. And so I guess that's kind of like, I don't know if that's a good explanation, but that's what I thought.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear that. It's kind of taking me off guard, but I think I'm sold. Like, all you have to do is compare me to Tahani Al-Jamil, and then, like, you've won me over.
Yeah.
But
okay. That is so funny.
But yeah, I do think it's interesting because I think I've even talked about this before, how I had a really strong wing 3 in like high school. And when I was in my 4 wing 3, like my core question was like, who am I? Because I'm completely like defined by the people I surround myself with. But it was like, it's that internal sense. I think like something key to the 4 is that internal sense of like lack and feeling like you're missing something and you are not like enough on your own. And I think that she does struggle and think that she's not enough without the galas and the balls and hosting the parties and name dropping Mahatma Gandhi, or who is it that's not who I was thinking.
The Dalai Lama.
The Dalai Lama, yes. It's when she's in her like 73 questions with Vogue and they're like,
hey, Tahani Al-Jamil. I'm from International Sophisticate Magazine. Mind if we ask you 582 questions?
Sounds delightful.
Where are we exactly?
My pied-à-terre, just off the coast of Barcelona.
What's one thing people don't know about you?
That I was such a tomboy in high school. See?
Wow, looking good. Okay, next question. Who would you say is the most famous person in your phone?
It's not about who you know. Enlightenment comes from within. The Dalai Lama texted me that.
Exactly. Well, it's so funny. You keep quoting the episode I literally watched to like practice for this. So that literally just happened when I was doing my research. But yeah, absolutely. She's a 4 to me, and I love her so much for it. 4 strong wing 3.
This is super interesting to me, and I love it. But I don't think I ever would have typed Eleanor and Tahani as the same type. But like, I love where we landed.
I know. That's what's so weird. But maybe that's why they clash.
And I think you're right. And I think it's a great image of like two people who have the same type and are not the same. Like there's such a breadth of experience and personality inside of the Enneagram. So I'm so sticking to it. I love it.
Oh, well, I love you. This is so fun. I love this podcast. What are we talking about next week?
We are talking about the one and only Leslie Knope. We are taking a trip over to Pawnee, Indiana, actually right next door to my hometown, fun fact. And we're really excited. We are going to be talking about Leslie, Ron, Tom, maybe some others. It's such a big cast of characters. I'm so excited to start a couple weeks talking about Parks and Recreation.
All right. I'll talk to you later, Lucas.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Typecasting. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at TypecastingPod, where you can vote in our weekly polls. Leave a review and be sure to join us next week when we take on more pop culture by the numbers.